Gel.
Bu test kesin sonuç verir değil mi?
Ben risk falan tanımıyorum. Melike'nin bana borcu vardı.
Have you ever wondered how many Turkish series were unfairly cancelled before reaching their full potential? Today I bring you a list that will shock even the most devoted fans. 6 cancelled Turkish series that truly deserve to continue, but which, due to audience decisions, complicated schedules, or simply network strategies, were abruptly ended, leaving incomplete storylines and characters who could have been with us for much longer. We'll talk about productions that began with great anticipation, popular casts, intense romantic storylines, or dramas that tackled controversial and sensitive topics and which, despite their quality, failed to maintain the necessary ratings to stay on the air. We'll discuss series like Kalakusu, an adaptation of a Turkish literary classic that ended up leaving fans in shock, Korkma Ben Yanındayım, a drama that addressed teenage pregnancy with both rawness and sensitivity, cancelled after only 7 episodes, or Sakinkali, which promised an intense family thriller but ended abruptly due to low ratings. Each of these stories left a void for fans, and the controversies surrounding their cancellations still generate debate on social media and fan forums, questioning the channel's decisions and the direction of modern Turkish television. If you love Turkish series, this video will surprise you, outrage you, and perhaps even make you rethink how decisions are made in the industry. Don't forget to subscribe and like, as this helps the channel grow and allows us to bring you more exclusive, high-quality content about your favorite dramas. If you'd like to support us even more, you can use the Super Thanks button to strengthen our work. If you can't, simply comment on which of these cancellations surprised you the most. Stay until the end because the final revelation will completely shock you, and you'll understand why some of these stories truly deserve to continue and how ruthless the industry can be with productions that had everything going for them. Prepare your emotions, because this journey through cancelled Turkish series will take you from surprise to outrage, and will make you question whether we will ever see a worthy ending for these unfinished gems. 1. Karpinti. It was presented as one of the most ambitious projects of its season on Turkish television, a drama that promised emotional intensity, explosive family conflicts, and deep psychological development of its characters. But it ended up becoming one of the most controversial recent cancellations in the Dizi industry. From its premiere, the series attempted to position itself as a tense dramatic thriller, where each episode revealed uncomfortable secrets, family betrayals, and moral dilemmas that pushed the protagonists to the brink of emotional collapse. The story revolved around characters trapped in a web of lies, ambitions, and dark pasts that gradually began to surface, creating a narrative atmosphere full of intrigue and confrontations. The problem is that, just when the plot was finally beginning to intensify and the conflicts were reaching a truly compelling point, the unexpected news arrived. Cancellation. With only 13 episodes aired, the production was pulled before it could fully develop its narrative arcs, sparking a strong reaction from the drama's fans. The most controversial aspect is that many critics and viewers agreed that the series was only just beginning to develop its true central conflict, leaving the impression that the project was judged too quickly based on cold, hard ratings. In the competitive world of Turkish series, weekly ratings function almost as an immediate verdict. If a production fails to dominate its time slot within a few weeks, its fate is often merciless. And that's exactly what happened with Karpinti. Despite its meticulous production, solid performances, and a narrative that promised increasingly dark twists, the mainstream audience didn't respond as quickly as the network had hoped. Some analysts even suggested that the real problem wasn't the story itself, but rather the scheduling strategy and the fierce competition from other, more established productions. This further fueled the controversy, because many fans maintain that, given more time to develop, the series could have become one of the most intense dramas of its year. On social media, complaints quickly surfaced. Outraged viewers accused the network of cancelling a story with enormous potential, just as it was starting to get really interesting. Thus, Karpinti became yet another example of how the Turkish television industry can be brutally quick to shut down projects that don't achieve immediate results, leaving unfinished stories and a frustrated audience still wondering what would have happened if the series had been given the chance to continue. 2. Sakinkali. The Turkish series arrived on screen surrounded by enormous expectations, propelled by a cast of well-known actors and a story that promised to unsettle, provoke debate, and touch a nerve with the audience. From its first episode, it was clear that this was no conventional production. The plot revolved around a mother who, after a devastating tragedy that destroys her family, decides to confront a system seemingly designed to protect the guilty and silence the victims. The series presented an intense narrative about justice, power, and manipulation, and quickly began generating conversations among viewers due to its dark tone and the direct way in which it questioned institutions, family relationships, and the morality of those who prefer to look the other way when injustice occurs. However, what seemed like the beginning of an emotional thriller capable of becoming one of the most talked about dramas of the season ended up becoming one of the most controversial cancellations in recent Turkish television history. Surprisingly, the channel decided to cancel the production after just 5 episodes, a decision that sparked outrage among many fans who are only just beginning to understand the secrets behind the central tragedy. Controversy quickly erupted, with many critics pointing out that the series was beginning to build a much deeper conflict, hinting at conspiracies, abuses of power, and a web of silence that could have led to a far more complex story. For some television analysts, the problem wasn't necessarily the series' quality, but rather the brutal logic of the Turkish television industry, where weekly ratings can determine the life or death of a production without giving it time to develop its story. Others went even further, claiming that the uncomfortable tone of the plot, which touched on sensitive social issues and questioned authority structures, may have contributed to the project not receiving sufficient support from the network. The truth is that the cancellation of Sakin Kali left the story practically unfinished, with multiple mysteries unresolved and characters whose development was only just beginning to unfold. For fans, this turned the series into a symbol of the most frustrating aspect of the Turkish television system: productions with great potential that disappear before achieving their true impact. To this day, many fans still wonder what secrets would have been revealed if the series had had the chance to continue, fueling the feeling that Sakin Kali did not fail for lack of story, but because it was never given enough time to show all that it could become. 3. Anatolian Yabansi. It became one of the most talked about controversies of the 2025 to 2026 Turkish season, due to its handling by the network and the industry, not because of its success, but because of its poor ratings and the abrupt way its narrative development was cut short. This series, whose title literally translates as The Stranger in the Mirror, arrived on screens with a strong concept: a psychological drama full of mystery and intense emotions, starring well-known figures such as Onur Tuna, Simi Barlas, and Kaynar Topku, with a plot designed to challenge the viewer's certainties by questioning identity, truth, and family loyalty, combining suspense and drama with a polished aesthetic that promised to elevate it above the average of conventional Turkish series. However, this initial ambition clashed with a critical market reality. Audiences did not respond as expected, and rumors and complaints about the direction of the production soon began circulating on social media. The controversy arose because this production, which was reportedly intended to run for 12 episodes to fully develop its complex narrative of psychological twists and internal conflicts, was prematurely cancelled after only 7 episodes due to consistently low ratings and its inability to break into the top 10 audience metrics required by the channel to sustain a series. The decision surprised many fans who had become invested in Ezra's story and her struggle to regain custody of her daughter, confronting a dark past and a shattered identity. It also sparked debate about whether the Turkish public truly appreciated what the series offered, or if it was simply a victim of poor promotion and fierce competition from other programs airing in the same time slot. The most controversial aspect wasn't just the early ending, but the way the narrative was left unresolved. Several arcs and mysteries that were clearly set up to resonate later were left unanswered, sparking heated debates in forums and on social media about what could have been, and fueling the feeling that the story was cut short due to economic pressures rather than artistic or quality considerations. Some international viewers even openly criticized the decision in online comments, arguing that the show had potential and that they wished it had been given at least a full season to explore its psychological premise before its fate was decided. Anatolian Yabansi stands as a recent example of how commercial television can stifle a narrative that sought to transcend traditional melodrama, sacrificing its ambitions for ratings and provoking polarized reactions between those who defended it and those who believe it failed to connect with audiences as expected. 4. Kotakam. It was one of those Turkish series that promised a revolution in the crime genre, boasting a solid cast of actors like Ertan Saban, Damla Sönmez, Hüseyin Avni Daniel, and Levent Olcan, and a story brimming with violence, organized crime, and family drama that seemed ideal for primetime. The plot revolves around Kartal, a former police officer who, after years estranged from his children, earns a living as head of security at a nightclub and ends up entangled in a criminal network far deeper than anyone could have anticipated. As he tries to escape this world and rebuild his relationship with his children, viewers expected intense character development and bold plot twists that never fully materialized due to its premature cancellation. What shocked many fans was that Kotakam wasn't cancelled due to a lack of dramatic quality or a weak plot, but rather a questionable strategic scheduling decision. Aired on Friday nights against ratings giants like Kızılcık Şerbeti, Karagak Destiny, and Yali Kapkini, the series was buried by stronger competitors with already loyal audiences, resulting in disappointing viewership figures despite the show's narrative potential. As a result, the production decided to end the story after only 6 episodes, something practically unheard of for a Turkish drama series of this type, where narratives are usually stretched out and explored much more deeply. This abrupt conclusion left plot threads unresolved, character development barely sketched out, and an audience that felt they were witnessing the beginning of something big instead of a worthy ending. Many viewers reacted on social media with frustration, criticizing the fact that a plot with the potential to explore themes such as redemption, morality, and the internal struggle between duty and family was cut short. 5. Korkma Ben Yanındayım. It was presented as a bold drama, capable of breaking taboos and confronting the public with a reality many prefer to ignore: teenage pregnancy and its emotional and social consequences. The series addressed, with both rawness and sensitivity, the dilemmas of a young woman caught in an unexpected situation, showing not only her internal conflict, but also her family's reaction, societal pressure, and the constant judgment of those around her. From the first episode, it was clear that the narrative wasn't going to soften reality or offer easy solutions. Every decision the characters made reflected the complexity of real life, with moments of intense tension, dramatic confrontations, and revelations that left the viewer in a constant state of uncertainty and empathy. Despite its powerful premise and the compelling performances of its main cast, the series suffered an unjust fate. It was abruptly cancelled after only 7 episodes, leaving plot lines open and dramatic twists unresolved, something that outraged and frustrated the most loyal fans who had begun to connect emotionally with the story. Critics point out that the cancellation wasn't due to the quality of the production or the relevance of the themes addressed, but rather to the rigid logic of television ratings and scheduling problems that prevented the drama from finding its true rhythm or reaching the audience that needed to see these stories. The controversy lies not only in the series' interruption, but also in the message it conveys. In contemporary Turkish television, even dramas that dare to question social norms and touch on sensitive topics can be silenced by ratings figures, relegating to oblivion stories that could have generated profound and necessary debates in society. The cancellation of Korkma Ben Yanındayım left a clear void in the television landscape, a stark example of how the fear of taking risks with controversial content ends up prevailing over the courage to tell meaningful and real stories, leaving viewers with a sense of injustice and the certainty that the series had the potential to become a benchmark of Turkish social drama. 6. Kalakusu. It was a Turkish television production that, from its announcement, generated enormous expectations among fans of romantic dramas because it was based on one of the most beloved novels in Turkish literature. The original story, written by Risat Nuri Gunakin, is a classic that follows Feriha, a strong, passionate, and independent young woman who fights for her place in a world dominated by rigid social norms and prejudices. The novel has a rich narrative arc, full of emotional twists, personal growth, and a complex love story that many consider a masterpiece. When the television adaptation arrived on screens, with a popular cast and actors with large social media followings, it seemed that this legendary story would finally be done justice. The production invested in meticulous set design, an emotional soundtrack, and a promotional campaign that promised to retell this classic with renewed energy. However, as the episodes progressed, criticism and controversy began to emerge among the novel's most devoted fans, who pointed out that the series was straying too far from the original material and that many key elements of Feriha's character were being relegated to the background in favor of more melodramatic plot twists and commercial formulas that didn't quite fit with the essence of the work. Despite a strong start in viewership, the reception was polarized. Some new viewers enjoyed it for its intense romance, but many fans of the novel were disappointed and expressed their frustration on forums and social media, accusing the production of betraying the spirit of the book. The tension between what the audience expected and what the series offered became a constant topic of debate. When the network decided to cancel Kalakusu after only 1 season, leaving storylines unresolved and the characters' full development unfinished, the controversy exploded. Fans accused the network of lacking vision, of abandoning a story with enormous potential due to momentarily low ratings, and of not even allowing itself to conclude a satisfying narrative arc. For many, it was a clear example of how commercial decisions can sacrifice the artistic and emotional development of a story that deserved much more time to breathe and captivate the audience. The abrupt cancellation of Kalakusu became a recurring topic among fans of Turkish dramas, who still debate whether the adaptation fell victim to exaggerated expectations or simply never knew how to balance literary fidelity with the demands of modern television. These 6 cancelled Turkish series that deserve to continue show us how ruthless the television industry can be, making quick decisions based on fleeting ratings and leaving promising stories unfinished. From romantic dramas to intense thrillers, each of these productions had enormous potential to develop deep plots, complex characters, and emotional twists that would have resonated with viewers. Abrupt cancellation not only frustrates fans but also raises a debate about how series are valued and the balance between artistic quality and commercial ratings. Often, the true impact of these stories is only felt when they're left incomplete, leaving a sense of emptiness and a what could have been that lingers on social media and fan forums. If you love Turkish series, these cancellations serve as a reminder that behind every production are business decisions that don't always consider the passion of the viewers. That's why continuing to support the content, commenting, and participating in the community is key for stories with real potential to have a second chance or, at least, be remembered fairly. The industry can be tough, but fans have a voice and the power to keep alive the memory of these series that left their worlds and loves unfinished. Never underestimate the strength of the fan community. Together, we can keep these stories alive and demand that great Turkish dramas receive the continuation they deserve.